Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our reading tonight for the Milwaukie Poetry Series. We have a great poet. Dale Champlin is going to be reading later. I'm Tom Hogan. I'm the coordinator of the Milwaukie Poetry Series, and thank you first for being here. So we know it's a cold night. We've been watching the weather forecast. We've been hoping no snow till tomorrow. So it looks like no snow till tomorrow morning. So that's what we hear, is that around 8 o'clock in the morning we may have some snow, but after the reading, which is great. So thank you, because we know that there's a lot of other things you could be doing. I also want to welcome those of you who have logged in. So thank you for logging in from wherever you are, and a welcome to you for the reading that we have tonight. Thank you for that. I want to make some thanks. So there are a number of people to thank, and I want to thank the City of Milwaukie, because the City of Milwaukie has been supportive of this from the beginning, which is we are very appreciative. I want to thank the Letting Library. So we are in the new Letting Library. So you know that we used to be at the Pond House when we started out. We're now at the new Letting Library. And I want to call your attention to something that is extra new tonight. We have some art on the walls. So the art committee is starting a recurring showing of different paintings, and they are up. So that's going to revolve. And if there is someone here from the arts committee, because she said she'd be back, we'll see if there's a little bit for her to tell us more, about that. I want to thank the Milwaukie Poetry Series Committee. So you don't do things unless you have a group of people working on it. So those of you who are on the group, my lovely wife, David, thank you for being here and for doing great. Thank you. And fourthly, our tech people. So we have Josh, our magician back here, who's doing our tech tonight from Willamette Falls Media Services. And so they're the ones that make this all happen. We also have something special for the reading tonight, two things, in fact. So let me preview that and introduce, here's George, Dale's wife. And so George is going to be on the laptop. The two additional things that we have is that Dale is going to show some slides during her reading. So that's going to happen then, and she's just going to key up George. And George is going to put the slides on. And secondly, there'll be a video. And we're going to show the video, which is an interview with Dale, and we're going to show that after Dale's reading tonight. So that's something to be aware of that's coming up. The other thing before I introduce Dale is I want to say something about a couple of our events that are coming up. And one is celebrating Black History Month. February is Black History Month, and we're celebrating that with a reading on Sunday afternoon here at 3 o'clock, 3 to 4:30. The featured readers are going to be Emmett Wheatfall and Sylvia Welch, and there will be an open mic after that event. So, of course, if you'd like to read in the open mic, you could drop me an email, or you could sign up when you get here. Secondly, next month, March 5th, is going to be our bilingual reading, which we're sponsoring in conjunction with the Al-Mutanabbi Street Starts Here Coalition. And this is going to be a chance to hear Arabic and English and poems read in both languages. So that's going to be also here, 6 o'clock, Wednesday evening, March 5th, which is actually the day of the original car bombing in Al-Mutanabbi Street in Baghdad. So those are coming up. We do have the past president of the Oregon Poetry Association here with us, and he'd like to say a word about their coming conference. So, Bob?
No applause was necessary, really.
But deserved.
But no. Yeah. And when he said past president, I really mean past president. And those of you who know about non-profit organizations will know what I'm meaning. What I want to announce tonight is the 2025 OPA conference, which will take place October the 3rd and 4th, and we are returning to the Agate Beach Hotel. We ran a poll of all of our membership to see where we should run it, and it came out pretty high. And we were thinking about Eugene, but the 3rd and the 4th might actually coincide with some wretched football. So we thought perhaps that might not be a good idea because all the hotels would be pretty busy. 3rd and the 4th of October. And the theme of this year's conference is Waves of Peace. And pretty soon, Dale is going to produce an amazingly beautiful poster for that. So there will be some more announcements in the media about the details, like how much money it's going to cost you to attend, and so on and so forth. So that's all I have to say, except to say that it's good to be a past president. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Bob, and thank you for stepping up and being the committee chair. Yeah. So thank you for doing that. I've been looking forward to the reading tonight, and it's my pleasure to introduce Dale. She's going to read for about 40 minutes, thereabouts, 35, 40 minutes. Then we're going to have a question and answer. And then after that, Dale's going to conclude the reading with a final poem. And then while we're selling books, there are books over here, and there are refreshments, so you can help yourself to the refreshments. Then we're going to play the video of her interview. So, Dale Champlin, an Oregon poet with an MFA in fine art, has collages published in various journals, including Stoneboat, Montana Mouthful, Calyx, Triggerfish, Critical Review, Poeming Pigeon, and Willaba. Many of her poems have appeared in Pandemic 2020, an anthology of pandemic poems from the Oregon Poetry Association, as well as A Joy to See, euphrastic poetry, based on the artwork of Kay Levine, co-edited with Sherry Levine, right over here. Her poetry collections include The Barbie Diaries, Callie Comes of Age, Isadora, Andromeda, Mina, A Stranger in America. 3 poetry collections, Erotique, Poems of Love, Lust, and Desire, Lida, and Adventures in Grandmothering are forthcoming. Medusa, an illustrated collection of poetry, is her most recent book. Would you join me in welcoming tonight our poet, Dale Champlin? Dale.
I'd like to thank Tom, and I'd like to thank the Milwaukie Poetry Association. Oh, and my son. Hi, Jesse. Thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it. Oh, can you hear me? I have a wussy voice, I apologize, but that's really loud now. I'd like to start reading poems from Medusa, and I kind of made stuff up. It's not all true to the mythology, although there are very many variations on the mythology. It's not all straightforward. It's kind of all over the map. Not the map, per se, but different interpretations. I'm cueing my AV guy to change the slide. That's a picture of Athena. And Medusa wrote a little thing about Athena. not really, but pretend. You can do the next one. Medusa was born from two sea creatures. One was this guy with the lobster tail, and this is from a mosaic that actually depicted Medusa's mom and dad. So you'll hear a little bit about them initially. What of pestilence? Grandmother Gaia changed my nappies, perfumed with moss and wildflowers, but beyond that, she was careless. I was left to my own devices. Back then, there was no such thing as a Maytag, a Hoover, or a fridge. Leftovers rotted. Dust bunnies littered the floor. When I reached the age that I no longer soiled myself, I left my filthy house bright and early. The wide world was my oyster, my branch, and my cave. What did I know of heroes and goddesses? I grew up in an amusement park, rain squalls my shower, tide pools my TV, birdsong my playlist. Hungry for chocolate and sex, I questioned time. What day, what month, what year? Sea monster. I shut my eyes and the world drops dead. Sylvia Plath. Forsyth makes a terrible father. We share an ordinary household, stage set in the landscape. Sitting at the breakfast table, his juice glass to the left, I fold a napkin and tuck it under his fork. Welcome to my mythology. The heroine doesn't bleed yet, an ordinary girl, so small she could be crushed easily. Her dormant temper coils snake-like in her belly. On stage, a burning field, a burning mountain, a burning castle. My tulle ballet costume, silk singed by the footlights, catches fire, burns, I burn, my body genuflects. Grandmother Gaia trudges on, heedless of my sputtering candle. Boredom and solitude. The moon flings itself across the sky, a disco ball of starlight. Sleepless at 3 a.m, I number my disappointments, how I blunder from one catastrophe to the next. I was an accident so simple and unaffected. The hours sift onto my shoulders, words meaningless yet. With one glance, my cell, ashes on the hearth, a wooden spoon, a pottery bowl, olives, a knife and cutting board, an invitation, no, a summons, weighted by a scallop shell, twitches in the breeze. Through the open window, clouds scuttle, relentless as wild tides or an invasion of pestilence. Water skims and twirls, funnel-shaped on a hard wind, oblivious as my mother's swift departure. I don't have this poem. Let's do the next one. Okay. I made up this part. I made up a lot of the parts. She has a lover named Daphne, not the Daphne that we're all so familiar with, but a different Daphne. I just like the name. Death will find you. In the olive orchard, Daphne and I spread blankets under gnarled trunks and heavy branches. We shake and shake the ancient trees. Olives drop like hailstones. Everything tumbles, twigs, insects, shuddering moths, beetles, squirrels, nests, brittle leaves. Olives fill our baskets to soak in brine until they are tangy and buttery. Thank you, Anne. In Athena's kitchen, we bake flatbread, stuff artichokes with spring peas and dill. We blanch leeks, drain and squeeze out the water, fluff up rice, drizzle olive and sunflower oil over every morsel, simmer and roast until the temple sweats from the rafters, and the seasoning, cinnamon, mint, and nutmeg. Our eyes and mouths water. We are ravenous, but wait. We husk pine cones, walnuts, and pistachios, scarf a nut, toss 3 into the bowl, peel almonds for decoration, rosewater, lemon juice, orange blossoms, pomegranate seeds, mellow apples. Everything swims in the sweetness of honey. We eat until we are brimful from eating, and while Athena's watchful little owl hovers, we drift into weightless slumber. Amid all this bounty, it seems impossible that life will ever end. See how echoes return again and again. The sea reflects stars, the moon wanes, then fills again, and yellow light streaks morning. Against all odds, we dream we will live forever. Well, she's been called to be an acolyte for Athena, and she has a bit of a temper herself, but she's also feeling very repressed by Athena because Athena's a goddess and she's just an acolyte. So that kind of upsets her. Anger and envy. I wish I was special, so fucking special. Tom York, creep. Slewfoot, sly Athena walks the seafloor mosaic, gritting her teeth. I am little more than a fly on the wall, always. See how she swills cocktail after cocktail, sits to sip, fumbles around, suspicious, dangerous as a scorpion. Athena dresses badly, suicidally depressed. Imagine she's the life of the party of life. But beneath her glittering facade, external messiness, internal distress, brutal in her arrogance. See how she slips down her red marble steps, a run in her hose, sandal unfastened, hastily dressed, her empire a bloody inferno. Athena, a goddess with nothing inside her, imagines she's nothing to hide. I eavesdrop from the scullery, sorting the cutlery, counting her divisive, guilty pleasures, noxious vendettas. Now she lip syncs. I'm a creep. I'm a weirdo. Where a goddess is involved, believe nothing you hear, little of what you see. Surrender to her whims. She doesn't belong here. Well, there's an altercation because Poseidon sees, we can turn. Oh, we're not there yet. Poseidon sees Medusa and is intrigued by her. And so, as all gods are wont to do, he decides to rape her. And this is what ensues in Athena's temple. The 7th wave. Before Athena's eyes, Poseidon's shark-tooth grin, the flash of his oyster orbs. See how her pavilion is wrecked, awashed with every monster the sea could muster, octopus tentacles flailing, sea snakes, eels, giant squids, and razor clams, lobsters and crabs, starfish and urchins skittering across her glittering mosaic floor. Waves wash pillars, braziers extinguish, curtains and bedding sweep away, wine goes off, whitecaps breach the ceiling, kelp twists around caryatids, humidity, salt, and slime. Without her leave, heave, her beautiful atrium swamps scuttled. Imagine virginal Athena affronted by the raw sexuality of Poseidon's assault. She schemes torpedoes, harpoons, mines, depth bombs, and hand grenades. And worst of all, the mayhem wasn't about her. In the midst of this havoc, the sodden atmosphere, the reek of fish, Athena spies how wanton Medusa, the whore, rollicks, sucking it all up. I think there's one. Oh, go one more. Oh, there's Athena. She's green. Go another one. There's Athena and Medusa. It's the next one. There you go. Athena's curse. Flee, for if your eyes are petrified in amazement, she will turn you to stone. Gaspar Martoya. Yesterday, Medusa was golden and rosy, washed by amber light, a bloom in the meadow, young and trembling in the harsh glare of morning. Medusa's skin takes on an unhealthy, greenish hue, a suffused shade, peridot green, tree frog green, grass stem green, hurricane eye green, the pallor of a corpse. And instead of Medusa's hair, once silky and springy, an agony of serpents writhes and whispers doom to anyone who sees her. Pretty awful. That was Medusa's, or Athena's curse. The terrible Medusa gaze. Beauty is what Medusa's head, which men go armed to seek and sever, and dead will starve and sting forever. Archibald MacLeish. I was a sinister hand. It's a well-kept secret. Put a bag over my head, and I'm stunning. Please disregard the occasional rattle and hiss. My body, how enticing. My limbs long and supple. My fingers ambi and dexterous. My ankles pliant and resilient. From the neck down, I look good enough to eat. Honeyed skin, choke cherry nipples, apricot breasts. Over a meadow, my gait might glide, bouncy and bubbly in pine-scented air. With the paper sack over my head, I come across happy. Yet, light a match, how I gutter and burn, scorched as a candle wick. I am wicked. I am ravenous, contemptible, charred to the marrow. My tortured path slinks, slides, slithers, winds and twists. Night glides behind me, unfolding wing light, like unruffled and still. There she is. Let's talk about death. For who can sleep with a promise of a world beyond the door? Max Ritvo. How can I explain the inexplicable when the dirigible sun passed overhead over this place where all I see is terror and death, where my goddess rejected me, exiled, ostracized beyond my wildest imaginings. Music turned minor and maudlin, water saline and brackish, nature clinging by a spider thread. Without even a moldy crust to eat, cockroaches in every crack and crevice. My body constricts, a dark bruise. Lovers crumble like a plowed field in my wake. I wasn't promised anything different. I wasn't promised a happy ending. Potable water, adorable children, ambrosia and honeysuckle. If it's green you're after, you've come to the right person. Green as spring inchworms and grass, green as death warmed over, green as a hurricane glowing through 40-foot waves, green as mold, gangrene, katydids, peas, and cucumbers, spring wheat and young forests, green as Gaia's breasts, more and more green, burgeoning a toehold on life. think this is going back to Poseidon for some reason. An exhaltation, an exaltation, sorry. How quickly I swam up through the surf's green eye, a startle of sunlight. Poseidon's swift blue glance raked me. He clasped me tight as a clamshell in an arm of the sea and entered every portal. Delicate suction cups sucked, filling me with delight. Whales breached, dolphins beached. How quickly schools of fish swerved and swirled, dashing past each other, all the hues of an oil spill. Each fish a mere silvery sliver of thought fragmenting the water, and even now, how the parsed memory returns to me and fills me with shame and delight. A flight of fish, a murmuration of light, the deep-sea treasure of him, impregnating every pore with wonder. Reckless stars. Under cloud cover, fully materialized, oh dear, here come the sisters. There are 3 Gorgons, and she's just one of them. Medusa is one of the Gorgons, but she is mortal, and her sisters are immortal. So chalk that up to something or other. She's mortal. But she, in one of my poems, she invents these sisters for company. Not a good idea. Reckless stars, under cloud cover, fully materialized, my sisters hang upside down on a black branch, heavy as bats. The horizon, a jagged line of volcanoes, scrapes the sky. No ships tonight, no safe harbor. Think of all the things that have gone wrong. A soft smear of decay coats the darkness, cloying as frost. Tonight, only a few stars appear. The sea skin wrinkles and sparks. Ravens yank in the night like a curtain across a stage. Can we look at the, oops. We have to look at the Gorgons. Oh, okay. I'll just read. There's some Gorgons involved, and we all know what Gorgons are like. They're horrible. But they're also sirenish, so they can appear to be lovely, but they aren't. Wrapped and aware, after Michael Burwell. Those fish, the ones with a snout like a saber, gleaming coins for eyes, bodies long and sinuous, yet here we float, our flesh clothed in soft green mold. Though we sing with 2 mouths, our thoughts are one. We come together on the cusp of the sea, fascinated by the shape of your hand, the drape of your arm, the way your throat sieves silver water. We were inventing a language, something to do with our mouths, our tongues curved, elusive in the sea caves of our teeth. Under waves imbibing light from above, at first glance we pose nude in scale and fin, spinning eel beautiful, down dangling fish-like. After dark we lure and bob. We are 2 salamander sylphs, water embodied, blue and aquamarine as hazy scrim. What you feel in the sea is our octopus reach. What you see below is our wet silver gaze. What you hear tonight is the wail of the waves. 2 half-spirits we bivalves, flail shriveled fingertips white and ghostly. We have swallowed the bait, hook, line, and sinker, swilling salty spritzers in our underwater saloon. Watch us surf the breakers, listen to us croon. We're back to Medusa. Perched on a promontory, I should have thought in a dream you would have brought some lovely perilous thing. HD. In Octopus Night, I dream of the abyss, my extravagant hairdo, immediate and unbearable. Snakes puff small puffs of breath, the final kiss a stifled hiss. In my bedroom, glowing eyes pierce the night, horned heads bob and weaved, forked tongues taste salt air in my villa perched on a promontory. Far above the breaching sea, on the edge of the world, so close to the end of my lifespan, I think until I am blue with thinking. Here the air is thin. I have gone through hell, but suppose I keep on going. My mother wanted me to make my own mistakes and see where that has gotten me. I give them my heart, such as it is. In the dark they tell me their stories, how they navigate between my islands, every war and petty romance, conflicts they've left in their wake. They drop to one knee and swear to obey and love me forever. I pray their blindfold doesn't slip. Eventually, they can't resist one little peek. Wrecked and rocked. My sister's lament, so beautiful, filled with harmony and discord. The poor fools can't believe their ears, sails slump and luff. What little wind is left whines with the metallic sound of zithers. Madness overtakes the crew. Past sins overwhelm the men with sorrow. The sun snuffs out. Cargo dashes on the crags. In the breakers, mariners dance something between a samba and a scherzo, lungs heaving from the intake of watery tentacles, until salt water, serene, mirror smooth, folds overhead, and they drift down, tumbling without stopping. I didn't ask if anyone wants to hear from some other book. These are all Medusa poems. Read a Barbie? Have to go over there. This has got very tiny Barbie-sized type. My mother complained. She couldn't even see it. I can see it, but I don't know if I can read it. Writing weird. Since you left, I've been writing weird. In my effort not to crawl back to you, I starve myself to a whisker moon. Alone in lostness with my new Barbie body, I teeter across the 4-lane in 6-inch stilettos, without a blink of my swimming pool blue eyes. All 4 lanes screech to a stop. It must be that my waist-length bleach blonde tresses blind those attention-starved drivers. I remember our camping trip to Reno in my bubblegum pink convertible camper with its cabana awning and fold-up recliners. We called Route 66 a river, squatted in the motel and swilled dry martinis. We didn't care if the beer nuts were stale. We'd cashed in our chips, sold our condo in Malibu, and put the twins in foster care. Where are you, Ken? I miss your square jaw. Possession. I was her first Barbie. She used to carry me everywhere, prop me by her bowl, and feed me chocolate ice cream. She held me in her arms and took me to bed at night. Then she lost one of my shoes, my leg joint got loose. She tattooed her name on my back with a ballpoint pen and nail polished my nipples day-glow. After her mom's hairdryer scorched my hair, she cut off the burnt ends. It was not an improvement. I thought I was priceless, but I was replaceable. I can't leave it up to Ken to rescue me. He's preoccupied with his wardrobe. His stone-cold eyes never glance in my direction. Once he told me to get a job, but with my tiny hands, I can't hold more than a sliver. If only I had a brain. Barbie has started to write poetry. For her, time seems to stand still. She believes in life on distant planets. The people might look like her. She can see plenty outside her window. She imagines the universe is much larger than the house she lives in. She imagines dinosaurs roaming about in her backyard. The thought of black holes terrifies her. She doesn't believe in ghosts, witches, or vampires. She is more concerned with dust bunnies and the half-life of plastic. Barbie believes in surrealism, rain, and bitcoins. Before writing a poem, Barbie thinks for an hour. Since time is illusory, she may be thinking longer than she realizes. Fashion is what she thinks about mostly: stilettos, tulle, polyester, and pencil skirts. It would be wonderful to get an MFA in poetry, but where could she teach? Most people don't take her seriously. Last week, someone told her her eyes are blue as a Caribbean lagoon. That would be a great first line in a poem. Barbie is a millennial. Once she read a funny poem about empathic animals and a tragic one about a toy ballerina and a lead soldier. She decides to write an imagist poem. Small buds unfurling into tiny hands press my window. The poem isn't working yet, but that's life. Ken doesn't talk to her about her poem. Maybe he can't read. Barbie's pleasure cruise. When Ken and I took a cruise to the Bahamas, he made sure I was aware that we were drinking used water. By the end of the trip, every sip would have passed through hundreds of bladders. Our immense ship, one of the Queens, made for extended intimacy. Our overused cabin, my mildewed bikinis, Ken sulking whenever he lost at shuffleboard, adrift beyond my control, my mood steely blue as the ocean at dusk. After each meal, deckhands threw leftovers overboard where they attracted sharks and screaming seagulls. Oops. When they locked up the jock who shoved his fiancée into the wake of the ship, I understood why he'd pushed her. Back then, the Atlantic was already a wasteland, whaleless, deserted. Even so, I kept searching for a plume or a lighthouse on the horizon. Each night, the moon shone like a flashlight over the wrinkled skin of the sea. I prayed for an iceberg to break up the monotony. Would you like to hear any Callie's? Callie's a young girl, and her mother has died. And this is written almost like a mystery novel. It goes from front to back. So don't start in the middle. Start at the beginning. Bewildering traces. The feeling she used to get when she was around him, the same as a horse muzzle eating oats from the cup of her hand. She remembered his eyes had a certain look, winter sun glinting off the frozen pond, still surface protecting depths underneath. He taught her mountain ways, riding together through juniper gullies, soft shale crunching under their horses' hooves. Even now, his flannel shirt, the color of red rocks and sage, hung on a hook in her closet. Sometimes, after a long day, she'd wrap its warmth around her and imagine it was his arm, snug across her bony 12-year-old shoulders. "Atta girl, Callie," he told her when she dug a post hole just right. "Atta girl, Callie," when she brought home straight A's on her report card. The night he died, she held his rough hand and wondered how she would survive with him gone. Callie, he reckoned, you are my flint and the spark. Well, she misses her mom, I know that. And she has an aunt who's kind of dreadful. Violets. Chores done, Callie heads to the draw. Icy mountain runoff, just bearable this early in the spring. The word violet, how close it is to violence. What was the connection? Sagebrush violet, yellow prairie violet, and out toward Idaho, the gorgeous Beckwith's violet. Callie strips and gets a toehold of water, not too cold. A cinnamon teal drake startles up with a clatter of wings. Callie plunges under, her hair streaming behind her like the wake of an otter. She remembers climbing her daddy's legs when she was little. Skin the cat, he called it. When her feet reached his chest, how she sprung into the air. Callie dries off with her work shirt, pulls on jeans and worn boots. Scrambling up the embankment, she stops dead, eye to eye with a fat rattler sunning itself on a ledge. Oh, this one I always read, so I'll read it for the last Callie. A dove, Callie said. After Lee, young Lee, a dove, I said. And this was inspired by Vivian. Mother, she said. What she meant to say was waterfall. What she meant was a pool dimpled by rain. Bread, she said. What she meant to say was arroyo steeped in moonlight. What she meant was waves of meadow grass pulsing against the foothills. Prairie, she said. What she meant to say was heartbreak and despair. What she meant was sleepwalking. Bed, she said. What she meant to say was wild horses. What she meant was nightmare. Damselfly, she said. What she meant to say was tumbleweed. What she meant was night wind. Book, she said. What she meant to say was river. What she meant was a breeze arising from nowhere. Callie took a bead on her circumstances. Family, she said. What she meant to say was unnamed future. What she meant was a promise that her life would come true. I have 4 more minutes. I'm keeping track. Let's see if I have one that isn't Medusa. Oh, there's some funny ones in here. That one's not funny. This one's called Vanilla Nell. Vanilla Nell. It is not the flavor but the shiver, a 2-scooper coneful to drop or drip, or a bowlful sweet as a creamy river. As I lick, my tongue begins to quiver with blue moon, mint, or chocolate chip, so it's not the flavor but the shiver. Neapolitan and fudge both deliver. Rum raisin and pumpkin make a great dip, both bowlfuls sweet as a creamy river. On her birthday cake, bake a cake to give her with a tutti frutti milkshake to sip. Still, it's not the flavor but the shiver. Top apple pie with a moose track sliver, past strawberry, coconut, and peach by your lip, each bowlful sweet as a mango river. Bastani sonati will make you flip, and chocolate mudslide is always a trip. Yet it's not the flavor but the shiver, all bowlful sweet as a creamy river. Some kind of a nut wrote that. And this is because my friend Rosemary Lombard made me kiss one of her turtles. It was terrifying because it smelled very reptilian. I guess, amphibian. Is it a reptile? It's a reptile. Dr. Diode Lombard. The first time I visited my psychoanalyst, I was surprised she was a turtle. She seemed remarkably intelligent and was the subject of multiple cognitive behavior studies. At the time, she was well over 90. Among her many accomplishments were 5 volumes of poetry and a one-turtle show at the Whitney in Manhattan. Once a week for 3 years running, I spent time with Dr. Lombard. She delved into my psyche to see if any screws were loose. By my final visit, I was well aware of her proclivities and her shortcomings. Although she registered low on the autism spectrum, she was quite adept at reading emotional expressions and rarely set a foot wrong. She told me I was beginning to form an unhealthy dependency to our weekly visit, and she would refer me to an alternate specialist. Because I felt comfortable with our progress, I was sad to leave. As she studied a bird outside her window, I stifled a snicker. I couldn't help but notice that turtles have trouble with binoculars. I guess I'll stop now.
So do you want to stay here? Yeah. So, thank you, Dale.
You're welcome.
Question and answer time?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about
So,
that.
if there are any questions that you have, and David will bring the microphone to
I
you.
don't ask the questions. They ask the questions and I
Yeah.
answer. Okay.
Yeah. So
I
I'm
can
going to
do
start and ask a question.
Oh, okay.
So, could you talk about Medusa and just how you got into writing the book in the first place, and then what your process was?
Well, I like to write persona poems. I like to just imagine what it would be like as that character or that person or that turtle. I don't know. I just love to imagine what's going on in somebody's head. And I think it would really piss me off if somebody turned me into a monster with snakes coming out of my head. So that was my point of departure with her. And with Barbie, that's a natural go-to. I think all women are objectified, and it's not real great to be objectified, for sure. And once your beauty's gone, once somebody's tattooed on your back with a ballpoint pen, you pretty much lost it. So that's Barbie. And I did write a kind of autobiographical book over there, and it's called Isadora, and it's about an old lady and her pet goldfish. So that's pretty close to my heart, and I'm the old lady, and I don't really have a goldfish. But the goldfish is sentient, and the goldfish has been reincarnated as a young woman into a goldfish. So, any more questions?
Thank you.
Sherry?
Could you hang in just a minute till David brings the mic? Yeah, because we'd like to get the question as well as the answer.
I know you wrote another book, Andromina, and I know you didn't get a chance to read it, but I was wondering if you could tell the audience about it,
Okay.
so they might buy it too.
Thank you, Sherry. She's my sales rep. So Andromina is a repurposed sex bot, and she's sentient, and she starts out just learning life by the internet because she's hooked up to the internet. And it's quite a wild ride. It's fun. And it's sad, too, because she has a fixation on her maker, and she wants him to love her, but he doesn't want to love a machine. So Plus, he's on the spectrum as well. So that doesn't help. It doesn't help her at all. So it's her trajectory. Metaphysically and physically, she has a trajectory. Any other question?
True,
Oh.
we get your, yeah.
I'll just go back to Tom's question about what's your process?
Yeah, I write every day. Pretty much, I write every day when I'm not making a collage. So mostly I write, and mostly I make collages. And it's just kind of fun to do that. I think it's because I'm old. What else are you going to do but write poetry? So one of my new books that isn't out yet is about my grandchildren, and I spend a lot of time with them. And wow, they're kind of nuts. They're very full of life and very stimulating and interesting, those two. So that's fun. And I write about them now. I write about anything. I'll write about a dandelion as a lover. I wrote that poem. Oh, and I wrote a bunch of erotic poems. And one of them even got in the Verse Weavers, which Connie won the first prize in Verse Weavers. And we were in the same Verse Weavers together, you, Anne and I. Sherry's won first prize. Verse Weavers, yay! I'm not going to write any more pandemic poems. I think I might be a failure at writing political poetry since Trump became president the first time. I used to make joke poems about Trump, but I don't see any laughing matter there. Do you have a question, Simbi? Simbi was there when I wrote my first poem. Yep. They were mostly about gardening, those first poems. Till Jesse told me, no more nature poems. Yes. He goes, I'll listen to a poem as long as it has nothing to do with nature. But nature, I don't know, somehow comes into a lot of my poetry because I'm observant. I love butterflies. I even like snakes, but not in person.
I have a
In
question,
snake.
Dale. So you're a tremendous artist as well as a writer.
Thank you.
And so could you talk about your relationship with writing and art? And I'd just like to hear that. Thanks.
I think I was a visual artist my whole life, and I wasn't a poet until my 60s. So I think it was a natural transition because you just visualize something and then you stick it together. I don't know. And I love to make collages. And I'm obsessive, compulsive. I'm sorry. I'm sure everybody here understands that. Every day. I mean, a lot of times you don't like a word, and you go, I got to find a better word than that. That word sucks. So you go to the thesaurus and look up all the words that are similar to that word, and then you go with those words and look up words that are similar with that, and just keep going. Oh yeah, I like to collect words. I like words. Yeah. Yes, exactly. It's like a mood board. It's like a Ouija board. only it's words. I heard you. And that's why all the children in my family and their children have huge vocabularies. Oh, yeah, I quit doing that. I got bored. Yeah, I was in Words with Friends forever, and then I just, no, I was only in it for 11 years, so that was long enough.
One thing I'm wondering is, who are you reading? Who are you reading and who do you feel influenced from?
Oh, well, you got to watch the video. Can we do
Okay.
that? Because it tells a whole list, but Frank O'Hara is my favorite. And I like a lot of contemporary people as well. I love a lot of contemporary poets. Very much. I've got too many books. I read novels and poetry.
Is there another question?
If you buy one of these books, I'll be very grateful. And if you take one home, read it from front to back. Usually that's the way I've written them, or that's the way they progress, and there might be a mystery. And if you start at the back or in the middle, you're going to screw up the mystery. You're going to solve it too quickly.
Are you going to read the broadside poem
Sure, I'll read the broadside poem.
as the final poem?
Sure,
Okay.
it's short.
Okay.
This one was recently published in The Opiate. Everybody ready? A lone figure dances in moonlight under a starless sky. I, the figure in question, hesitate, tenuous and fragile, my small bones hardly larger than those of fishes dreaming in a blue lake, my head tipped up into wild plum night. Flocks of mourning doves rise above a mist-shrouded balsam forest. What is my role in the natural world? Is this the humanity I envisioned in my youth? Will we ever be free of conflict and desire, the pull of greed, power, and dominance? Years fly toward me on angel wings, each one more swiftly than the last, trusting me with rain-drenched ticks of time. That's true.
So
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you so much, Dale. And Judy Montgomery is going to be here in March. There's refreshments over here. Dale has said that she has some books for sale. I think she'll be happy to autograph them. So, thank you for coming very much.